Good evening. It's Joyful Hermit. Tomorrow I'm going to get my better face back on. I did get dressed today. I got the trash out to the curb, and later I got the little bit of grass I have mowed and pruned a couple of roses, spray painted my St. Fiacre statue that needed a facelift, and of course was very disoriented. But I've turned a corner and I'm getting back refocused on some of my studies. A friend wants to send me the set of books on discernment of spirits and other books related um, that are au courant of Father Timothy Gallagher. However, I have over 900 books in my little library room, and I just went back and plucked a couple off the shelves, and I have many books on mystical theology, on the spiritual life, on the interior life, and on the psychology of the mystics, etc., the ascetical life, um, prayer, levels of the spiritual life and the interior life, all classics and all by great saints, mystics, and writers of the spiritual realm. And I decided rather than going through an amalgamation of what Father Gallagher has taken from the primary sources, that I would go to the primary sources and do a little study of the discernment of spirit. So I found, like in this book, this is the Ascetical Life by Parente. He has a section on discernment of spirits. And also I have this book by Marichal, The Studies in the Psychology of the Mystics, which will benefit me a great deal. It's time to move forward now with what study that I can do and what I can absorb on this topic. And I decided, rather than read what my friend has read, and she's most excited about those books, I did watch on YouTube or on some online place one of the presentations by Father Gallagher, and it's very good. Um, he uses many, many examples from today's world. I guess I also have this book out, My Ignatius Spiritual Exercises, which has I think there are 14 rules of discernment of spirits. I like to go more to the primary sources. I tend not to need the examples given because I can think through and apply them myself. My master's is in reading, and I learned various ways of the different levels of reading, but that application level, I think that's the fourth, application is very necessary, and also critical judgment is necessary in what we read, and creativity, in other words, to not only be able to read, but to take what we have read and to creatively implement that somehow in our life, not only just application, but to create something out of it. And then, of course, the highest level of reading is the judgment, I think it's the judgment level, and the ability to discern. So I hope to do this, and then I thought I could share with my friend what I learn from other sources, and she can share with me what she's learning from Father Gallagher. And I've also had that be the case with somebody else who wanted me to read Father Thomas Dubé's books on, he covers Teresa of Avila and John of the Cross very well. on spiritual growth and development, and I have one of his books. I think I have The Fire Within. But I really like to read the primary source research. This Lent, I had lent to Father Vincent when he came for dinner on Shrove Tuesday evening. He saw my library and he chose out a couple books. One of them is The Spiritual Alphabet that Teresa of Avila read and gained so much from, and by Francisco Luna, I think, or no, Acuna, something like that. Anyway, I hope to read that book at some point. But you can see that I'm making a change, a shift. I am walking into the room for more study through the portal, and I'm going to dedicate myself a little more to that. I sort of gave up today on going back over some painful situations and released them, much as I did the first spring before I was confirmed. We still had Ascension Thursday on Thursday. And I got out of my file all the hate mail from my former husband, and including some hate letters from his wife. And I called the fire department in the town I lived and asked if it would be all right if I would burn some things. I said it was more of a spiritual and personal symbolism to burn some old letters, and they said yes if I would do it like out in my little garden area on my property. I had a house in a nice little subdivision, and if I used a metal container. So we happened to have one of the children's little metal hamster cages, and I used that, and one by one I burnt the angry, ugly, nasty letters and that were addressed to me and written about me. And I prayed as I burned each one that they would rise, the ashes would rise and be as prayers of forgiveness for my former husband and his wife, and also forgiveness for me in any ways that I had not been compassionate to them, and that I would never again harbor ill will or upset or be affected by anything that they may try to do to me. And that Ascension Thursday was a beautiful, beautiful day for me. And shortly after, I had a vision one evening, and I was praying, and all of a sudden I had this, I think it would be called an intellectual vision, because they weren't actually corporeal. Their persons weren't there. But I saw this sight within the inner sight. And it was my former husband and his wife walking down an aisle after they were deceased, and I was walking in front of them as their flower girl, dropping petals from roses on the pathway that they were walking behind me. And right at that point in time, as I saw this scene unfolding, I felt a tremendous amount of love for them, total forgiveness, and I knew and had assurance that through my prayers and through my actions, that they would be allowed to someday enter heaven. And at that point, when I realized that, I felt very thankful and grateful that I was allowed that position to be able to be their flower girl, despite the ugliness and the torment that they had put me through, a cruelty of things said and written, and even said about me to others that were not true. This woman didn't know me, but believed what he said about me. But in all fairness, he had been engaged to someone prior to me, and I believed for a very short period of time what he said about that woman. But it wasn't long into our marriage that I realized that I had married someone who didn't tell the truth. So, when I had this vision and had that recognition that the Lord had received the ashes ascending on Ascension Thursday, and that I had let go of the hurt and had forgiven and tried from my heart, had begged the Lord to let me be forgiving, the wall popped in a huge boom across from me like this. And I knew that what I had seen in that intellectual vision and the message I got from it was accurate. Sort of pray that for today, that I have now turned a corner, have moved on, and the past and the misunderstanding and the being judged as Jesus told me I would be, but to not pay any attention, that I won't now. It's time to move on into something more positive, more helpful and beneficial and concrete, and that is to educate myself more and more in the mystical life so that I might hopefully impart to others, maybe through these videos or as my neck injury heals more and more, that I will be able to write again without making so many spelling errors. I still write as if I am severely dyslexic. So at times it's better though. Anyway, I will continue my reading and hope to share with you highlights of what I read and blessings to everyone on earth. And I'm very, very thankful to have been able to do the little bit that I was able to do today. Even though, yes, I'm in a lot of pain from it, but I did it. My angel Beth helped me, and my bridegroom helped me. God bless His real presence in you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Thanks again for your prayers. They've really been helping me.